So PAX West is in a few weeks, and I just want to come on here and give a few tips for people who've never been to PAX before. I just got my badge in the mail. If this is your first time going to PAX, you will probably know that you typically get your badges in the mail. I think that you can still pick up badges if you've ordered them after the mailing deadline on site at will call, but the majority of badges are mailed out. So you should either, if you haven't got it yet, you should be getting it soon. PAX West takes place in Seattle over Labor Day weekend, and it is a very, very big gaming convention. It's a lot of fun, but it can be a little bit overwhelming if you're new to the convention scene or if you're new to just the gaming conventions, because PAX is a little bit different from other conventions. Biggest thing that I have noticed, I go to a lot of conventions, and one of the things that I always notice about PAX is that it's a lot louder than other conventions because it is a video game convention. And so when you go into the expo hall, there's just a bunch of video game sounds happening all around you, and that can be really overwhelming. So if you do find yourself getting overwhelmed, don't be afraid to take breaks. One thing to note about PAX West is that it takes place in two buildings. There is the Seattle Convention Center Summit building, and then there's the Convention Center Arch. This is the world map that's on the app, and basically the building here, that's the Summit building, and then the building down here, that's the Arch. So you can kind of see how far apart these buildings are. It's a couple blocks. It's not that bad of a walk. It can be if you're a little bit tired, but it's not too bad. So basically the difference between the two buildings is this year the Summit is going to be like the main tabletop area, whereas the old building, the Arch, is going to be the main expo hall. One good thing about the Summit building is that the way it's set up is a bit more, I guess, easily navigated than the older Arch building. The way the building is set up is that there is a set of escalators that go up the front of the building that is right next to the main entrance. And then there is actually a second set of escalators on the opposite side of the building, the back of the building, that go up the same way. A lot of people who aren't familiar with the convention center don't really pay attention or don't know about the back set of escalators, but it's really important to know because, one, it's almost always a lot less busy back there because most people are going to be using the main escalators up in the front of the building. It's also a lot quieter back there. There's usually like seating areas in the back area. So if you do find yourself getting overwhelmed with like all the noise and stuff, going to the back side of the building is a great way to escape all that. You can just sit down and rest and like hide away for a little bit. So it's really nice to have that in the new building, in the Summit building. And so if you've never been to PAX before, the way the expo hall works is basically it's just a giant hall with a ton of video games. Video game companies all have their booths. They all have demos of their games. Usually there's an area that has a place for like more indie games, and then you'll have another area that has some of the bigger, more well-named companies like Capcom and Bandai and all that fun stuff, Nintendo, Pokemon, all those things. But usually for most of these, you can just wait in line to play the demo. Some demos or some companies may have like specific rules for signing up for a demo. Like I think that there was the year that they were demoing Final Fantasy VII Remake for Square, for Square Enix, they basically had a rule that you had to like sign up for like a time slot, I think, and then go and do the demo during that time slot. I didn't really do that. What I ended up doing is waiting till the end of the day until like the hall closes at 6 p.m. So I waited like 5:30 and they didn't have anybody in line. And so I just went up and just asked them if I could demo the game. And they're like, yeah, just come in. So like, depending on how many people are in line for stuff, sometimes you can sneak in at the end of the con, like right before close. But it really just depends. You kind of have to look online to see if there's anything special. If there's a particular game that you really want to demo, definitely do your research and see if there are specific rules, or like if you have to sign up or do any kind of weird things to get into the demo. But for most of the games, it's just waiting in line. Well, if you haven't already, download the PAX Nav app. This is their app for the various conventions. It's probably going to have you activate your badge when you first log in, which is important to do so that you can participate in PAX XP, which is kind of like a game that you can play where they have like these stations set up all around the con, and you scan the QR code on your badge on the stations. And like sometimes you can win prizes if you get like all the stations. As of now, they haven't put up the Arch Expo Hall maps yet, but they have the Summit maps. Basically, the way that the Summit is set up is you have ground level, level 1, which is where just basically the main entrance. There's nothing that really happens in level 1. Level 0, which is on the map here, is basically this year, it looks like it's going to be primarily the tabletop gaming area, as well as the PC free play and the VR free play, so, as well as console free play. So like basically all the open play areas for those things you will find in the basement level 0, which if you went to PAX last year, I think that's actually where they had another one of the expo halls, if I recall correctly. So they decided to move the expo hall out of that area to the old building and instead put the free play gaming in that area. Then you have the Summit Level 2, which is going to be more tabletop play area. I don't know if it's going to focus or not. I don't know if you can see it. You can download the app and you'll see it yourself. But that's going to be another area for like tabletop free play and tournaments, as well as the expo stuff or the expo hall for tabletop stuff. But it looks like all the panels are pretty much taking place in the Summit building. So that's kind of nice because you can go to the expo hall in the other arch building, and then whenever you have to come to a panel, you can just hang out in the Summit. Also panels, tons and tons of panels. Actually, I was looking through the panel list for this year. There is so much good stuff going on this year. I was like surprised. So it's like sometimes I think with any con, like panels can be hit or miss. Like it really just depends. Some years are better than others. I think this year they got some really good stuff. One thing that I'm really kind of surprised about is the amount of panels on like romance and sexuality in games. That's kind of cool. Realistically, you're probably going to only see a couple panels a day. For me, I might do 3, maybe 4 panels if they really want to, but like you really have to give yourself time to spend in the expo hall, because that's a big part of the con is playing games. And that's a bit different from the way it is for like other conventions, like comic conventions, because like with comic conventions, the expo halls are mostly about buying stuff and like buying art and stuff like that. PAX doesn't really have like an artist alley or anything like that. There are some booths that might sell a few things, but like the main expo hall is all about gaming. It's all about playing games, playing game demos. So you want to make sure you're balancing out the amount of time that you spend playing demos with the amount of time you spend going to panels. I would recommend bring snacks and bring a water bottle. There's plenty of places in both convention center buildings to refill your water bottles. So stay hydrated. That's really important. Other than that, that's pretty much it. Just go have fun, play games. If you have any questions, please let me know, because I've been to PAX for many, many years, and I am happy to help out new PAX goers. Thanks.